What screams I make terrible financial decisions. We've been dating for 3 months. Of course, let's join bank accounts. A friend of a friend is buying a house with a girl has been dating 3 months. Vertical bar. You know those ads on Craigslist trying to sell a car for exactly what they paid for it? Yeah, those. Buying something really expensive like a motorcycle or a nice rifle, then deciding you're tired of it and reselling it for half the price only a week later. I knew a guy who did exactly that. It was astonishing. It's like, dude, you just lost thousands. I used to work at GameStop. I had a customer that bought a PlayStation because a particular exclusive game came out for it, then would trade the system and game in to buy an Xbox when a new exclusive for it came out about a month later, and would go back and forth trading the respective consoles and games in every few months. I tried to convince him to just own each system and buy the games for each when they release because he was losing so much money doing what he was doing. His response was that he couldn't afford to buy both at the same time. I didn't have the brightest customers. I worked at a store called Vintage Stock. It's a lot like GameStop. We had people like that for us too. We were in the same strip center as a GameStop and we paid out less cash than they did. A guy came in saying he was playing our system by buying our cheap shoot and selling it to GameStop. Like buying a used PS4 from us for like $300 and selling it to GS for like $100 instead of to us for $80. Like you didn't make $20, you spent $200. WTF. An old friend of mine, we'll call him friend A, was in a rough place. He had a job, but couldn't really afford to get out of the slump he was in, living paycheck to paycheck. So my other friend B, who owned a house, offered to let him stay for free for a few months. All friend A had to do was pay the internet bill $70 MO. Easy enough, right? Well, friend A decided that, since he no longer had expenses, he would just quit his job and play friend B's Xbox all day long and join a band. Lo and behold, friend A ran out of money eventually. Now he owed friend B the internet bill and simply couldn't pay it. Instead of getting a job and paying it, friend A stole friend B's Xbox and pawned it, then used the money to pay friend B the internet bill. How he ever thought it would work, who knows? But that's the definition of terrible financial decisions. We don't talk to friend A anymore. Edit. Well, this blew up. Figured I was late to the party, but I suppose not. An addition to the story is that about a year later, friend A sent me a text begging me to help out his family because it was summer in Texas and their AC went out. I had known the whole family most of my life, so I loaned him my spare window AC unit. I knew what would happen, but I wasn't using it, and they needed it. Never saw it again, and that was the last contact I ever had with him. When you ask them how much they paid for something, and they only know how much it costs them on monthly payments. So I worked at a grocery store for 8 years, and the one thing I saw a lot of, unfortunately, was people putting food back for cigarettes when they have kids. We didn't sell lottery tickets or alcohol, but other stores in town did, and heard the same stories. I worked at a store that people could sell nerd stuff, comics, games, old toys and movies for a little bit of cash or for a little more store credit. Too often you would have people that reeked of meth or cigarettes selling kids movies. When I'd tell them that for their collection of 10 children's movies I'd give them $4 cash or $6 store credit, they'd usually say something like, "Jim, the cash I gotta get smokes and I don't get paid for a few more days." Like, WTF. It just makes me so sad to know a child is being raised into that. I'm a loan officer. A guy called in. 18. Fresh out of high school. First job, Pizza Hut, been at it 3 months. Needed a car. Wanted us to finance it. He was calling from the Maserati dealership, emphasizing how much you saved vs how much you spent. Look what I got. Originally $25,000, but I got it for $5,000. I saved $20,000. No, you spent $5,000. In Western Australia it looks like this. Get laid off by mining company that was initially paying you well, specifically because it isn't a secure position, but never mind that. Already taken out a $600k plus loan on a house, a $80k loan on a sick V8 Commodore, plus another $10k putting in performance cams and a straight through exhaust so you can pull mad skids. This is all on the justification that he'll be able to smash these loans out in a couple years on this salary AI. FCK. What do now? What's that? Tickets to Bali are $300 return. Better take the family for a booze fuel cheap shoot buying bonanza. It's fine. Well, just remortgage the house. Dead freaking easy. I used to know a guy who was renowned for making bad decisions in general. To be fair, he was funny and had a heart of gold. He just wasn't a logical thinker. He never had any savings. He was always buying his girlfriend of the month pretty/expensive things and always mooching off his mum. One of the more flawed decisions that has always stuck with me was when his car broke down. It was a piece of junk, so it was bound to happen. No biggie. He was feeling pretty blue because of it, as well as a collection of other things that had happened around the same time, largely through his own choices. So he decided that, in order to finally become a winner, he needed to look and feel like a winner. And do you know what makes you look and feel like a winner? Owning a brand new Chrysler. He was so excited about it, he could feel good things coming his way already. He'd picked the one he wanted, $70K odd. He'd spoken to the dealer and organized when he was going to come in and do the paperwork. Everything was looking great for him. Then when he went to the dealership to sort it all out, it turned out that he hadn't been in his current job for long enough, so the loan/finance which he elected to do through the dealership couldn't be approved. He came back looking pretty defeated, but, in my opinion, being declined that loan was one of the luckiest things to ever happen to him. This man should not be in charge of his own money. Unable to remember what they wrote checks for and/or unwilling to write down what they wrote checks for, my boss charity just sent out the legally required receipts for charitable donations. Each receipt says thank you for your donation of X to charity name. It's so people can list it as a charitable donation on their taxes, and so we have a list in the event of an audit. I have fielded no fewer than a dozen calls this week along the lines of what is this receipt for? I didn't write a check. And no one is polite about it either. They're all in full-blown panic mode. I have photocopies of their checks with the check numbers, which I send them. Suddenly they remember that check they wrote all of a week ago, but somehow never wrote down in their checkbook, or whatever system they use. Seriously people, pay attention. Asking your friends on FB for $250 to pay your bills, then post pics the next day of you at the movie theater with $40 of snacks. Just bought 24-karat gold-plated playing cards. They were only $12 on Groupon, but it does look bad. Edit, $12 includes shipping. It was $6.99 for the deck, $3.99 shipping, and like $0.30 tax. I have a friend who has $95K in student loan debt, $23K credit card debt, and a $50K wedding on the horizon. Her dad pays for her school loan. He is paying for the wedding. The original budget was $30K. Got raised to $50K. Here's the kicker. He said, I'll give you $50K for a down payment on a house or $50K for your wedding. She picked the wedding. Infuriating. Edit, yes. Her dad will absolutely pay for the down payment on her future house. It makes me UGHHH. Didn't expect to hear so much in response. Setting up a GoFundMe account to get their Facebook friends to pay for their wedding, instead of opting for a simpler wedding, or having a longer engagement, or eloping now and having the big party later, while still going out to dinner every other night and taking expensive trips. Get your tax refund and completely forget about the last 11 months of poverty you just experienced while you talk yourself into a brand new 65 TV that you'll inevitably pawn to pay your water bill. Maybe I was too specific. Buying a rundown hotel with bedbugs, mold, and a broken pool, and then spending $27,000 on new signs with over half your savings. In my part of the world, it's the newly hired on the oil rigs when the market is booming. Go out, buy a truck with a $1,000 monthly payment, then buy a house with a $3,000 monthly payment. Then when the market drops, they lose it all, and their credit ends up ruined, so it's harder to find a decent car/place to live. A guy that I worked with sold his phone to pay his rent. He got like $40 for it. Spent the next month without a phone, unable to do business properly because he didn't have a way for people to contact him. Told me that he was short on rent, living check to check every month. Later told me he plans on taking out a $4,000 loan. $2,000 of it were to buy an old car he liked, and the other $2K was to revamp it. Decided he wanted to start breed pitbulls, so paid $300 for a pitbull that then didn't mate with his female and was later run over. Decided to buy 2 Indian ringnecks birds because he wanted a pet, then had to buy proper Cajun toys and has to now buy bird food and do generally upkeep on them. He later sold one to cover his rent. Told me multiple stories about how whenever he came upon some extra cash he'd spend it by the next day. He was proud of this too. He told me how he once got a $100 from a family member and then used it within the same night to have a steak dinner and go out for desserts afterwards. When customers would leave him tips, he'd use it to buy takeout food that night. He bought a cat. When he eventually got a phone, he bought one for about $500. That's more than his paycheck. Told me he once wanted to give his wife money, but she told to keep it because she didn't want to spend it, so he literally threw it away. Bought a better fish. Edit. Fixed a word. I'm too lazy to go through this wall on mobile, so let me know if there are other mistakes. Dropping the cash for 3 boxes of magic cards, but then not being able to make your goddamn cell phone payment. Or buying $500 of Warhammer figurines that you'll never actually take out of the box, much less paint. Always having money to feed 4 different card game habits: Magic, L5R, Deadlands, Lord of the Rings, and to attend tournaments, but somehow never being able to keep a phone active for more than 8 months at a time. Needless to say, my older brother imparted to me many lessons on how not to handle money. There was a guy in my acting class who at 21 got a loan to buy a brand new Mercedes-Benz because they're nicer to drive. Dude thinks he's going to make it big as an actor, which is hard enough to make a living off, let alone from where we live, so it's okay for him to spend up. Sure, buddy. Having a full-time job and still not being able to make rent. A buddy of mine once told me I was his best roommate because I was never late on rent. I don't get why people don't make that a priority. Like, I know the latest phone is out, but dude, you gotta pay rent first. If you don't have place to live, shoot's gonna get all sorts of difficult. Plus it's kinda a dick move to always expect your other roommates to cover for you so you can buy shoot you want first. It's one thing if you come up short 1 month cause times are rough or you're in between jobs, but from what I've come to understand is that people do this shoot on a regular basis. Saying you can't afford your own place because you have 2 car payments and one of those is for a motorcycle you're scared to ride. My sister, ladies and gentlemen. 1. Keeps telling you you need to not save and spend money on yourself even as they're in the mid-50s and will work until they die because they spent their money as soon as they got it. A coworker taught me that. 2. Freely inform you they stay in a loveless marriage or relationship because they're kept in a manner to which they're accustomed. An ex-girlfriend taught me that. 3. Flip out in a rage that you haven't made poor financial decisions like them because no one makes money in 401ks or stocks. A boss taught me that. I have someone at my work that doesn't trust the banks. She saves about 1k a month according to her, but she doesn't put it in a bank. She doesn't put it in her 401k or a Roth IRA or invest it in any way. She takes it out in cash and puts it in a safe. Trying to explain to her how she was losing a good chunk of that in inflation every year, that she could make 2% return on that by choosing only the safest investments, etc. Her response? Yes, well, I like having it around. Can't believe I haven't seen this yet, but couples purposely having multiple children while struggling to take care of themselves. Not only is it a bad financial choice, but a shooty position to put your kids in. I work at the bank. Literally 95% of people's expenses comes from food and eating out. Now that doesn't mean someone is necessarily financially illiterate, but by simply making own food and getting a coffee machine, most people can save majority of their paychecks. Also having a credit card that offers no rewards. There's so many with no annual fee. Edit. I worded it poorly. I meant everyone should have a card that offers rewards. There are many that have 0 annual fee. Full-time students on financial aid who buy Starbucks every single morning. And not just coffee, it's always lattes and vapucinus and shoot.